0SHARAS share tweet. A North Korea defector is now sounding the alarm about the proposed talks between Kim Jong-un and President Donald Trump. The 28-year-old defector told UK media this week that Kim Jong-un is more dangerous than his father or grandfather because he has more vested interest in becoming a nuclear state and actually using the nuclear power as a threat to force the world to give in to his demands. The defector, who asked to be identified using the pseudonym John Choi, said he has come forward now with this warning because he is concerned about what the despot will try to do to President Trump once he meets with him. John Choi continued by saying the reason Kim Jong-un is more dangerous than the rulers who came before him is because he's a young man and doesn't have the experience to think about outcomes to certain scenarios, which only comes with experience and maturity. He will just act without thinking of the consequences and is dead set on finishing the war his grandfather started by becoming the ruler of the whole peninsula, he added. This isn't a difficult thing to see considering how bloodthirsty he has displayed himself to be. He has shown himself to be reckless and far more dangerous than his predecessors. He had his uncle killed by feeding him to lions and also his brother and multiple military generals in order to gain and maintain power, and he has no issue throwing a tantrum or two to get what he wants. Choi made certain to also mention that each nuclear weapon North Korea possesses cost $800 million. $800 million would feed all North Korean citizens for 2 years, but instead, they starve and suffer under severe civil rights abuses so Kim Jong-un can finish what his grandfather started. Here's more on the US-North Korean talks via Fox News. President Trump deserves big credit for kicking off the first talks between Pyongyang and Seoul in more than 2 years, South Korean President Moon Jae-in said Wednesday. North Korea agreed Tuesday to send a delegation to next month's Winter Olympics, which are set to begin next month in Pyeongchang, South Korea. The rival nations' talks are the first sign of a possible thaw in their relationship. Rich Edson reports on the biggest issues at play and skepticism surrounding North Korea's sincerity. The talks were held for the first time since 2015 and Moon credited Trump for sparking them, according to Reuters. I think President Trump deserves big credit for bringing about the inter-Korean talks, Moon said at a news conference. It could be a resulting work of the US-led sanctions on pressure. Following Moon's comments, his special advisor for foreign affairs and national security, Chung In-moon, told Fox News, "I agree 100%. Were it not for President Trump's pressures, North Korea would not have come to South Korea." President Trump deserves credit. He suggested the talks are a prelude to substantive bilateral discussions between the U.S. and North Korea. North Korea is desperate to have talks with the U.S., but there are communication difficulties. What was the choice? You can go to Washington through South Korea, he said. As to fears that South Korea will stray from the hard line the Trump administration has established regarding the nuclear and missile programs of North Korea, the special advisor said that would not happen. South Korea will go in tandem with the United States in dealing with North Korea, he said. Precisely, he said. The South Korean government reacted to President Trump's support of current negotiation efforts after past criticism of Seoul by Washington. We heard what President Trump was saying, we support you. Even delaying the joint military drills, he said. I think it was an amazing development. Trump has taken a hard line against Kim Jong-un's belligerent regime, promising fire and fury in the face of North Korea's continued testing of illicit ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons. The two leaders have openly talked about using nukes, with both Trump and Kim Jong-un claiming they have buttons on their desks to launch nuclear-tipped missiles. The US had expressed concerns that North Korea's willingness to talk with Seoul could drive a wedge in their own relationship with South Korea, but the South Korean president downplayed that notion, saying the main goal was still a denuclearized peninsula. The denuclearization of the Korean peninsula the two Koreas agreed upon jointly in the past is our basic stance that will never be given up, Moon said. North Korea said it would still not discuss its nuclear weapons program with South Korea because its arsenal was only aimed at the U.S. North Korea's weapons are only aimed at the United States, not our brethren, China or Russia, said Ri Sun-won, the head of North Korea's five-member delegation at the talks with South Korea. Ri added discussing North Korea's nuclear program will only damage ties with South Korea. A hat tip from South Korea to Trump could signal another foreign policy win for the administration that started the year with a ton of momentum after defeating the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. The Trump administration authorized a more intensive air strategy, which left the so-called caliphate decimated. The terror group lost 98% of its territory it once held, U.S. military officials said in December. U.S. officials said fewer than 1,000 ISIS fighters remain in Iraq and Syria, down from a peak of nearly 45,000 2 years ago.